Fam, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. You can also hit the join button at the bottom of this video to help fan fund this YouTube channel. I really appreciate all the support. On this video, we're going to pipe in some audio from Kevin Steele, Tommy Rees, Tyler Buchner, Malachi Moore, Jase McClellan. We're going to go in depth on this video, talk about what we've learned from the first couple days of practice and where we go. And we start out with Alabama new defensive coordinator, Kevin Steele, who replaces Pete Golding, taking over as the defensive coordinator.
The Alabama standard to the defense.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question in some regards, in that this process is built, and it started in '07. I was here, so it hasn't gone anywhere. It really hasn't. Obviously, offensive football has changed. It's harder on defense right now at this present time than maybe it's been in a long, long time. But the process is the process, and that's the things I talked about earlier in terms of physical and mental toughness, relentless effort, dominate your opponent, and do your job. It's simple principles. Obviously, schematically, we have a defense that can put pressure on the offense. I mean, it's built that way. We have a lot of moving parts in that regard. And it's just knowing your job and doing your job.
Good opening comments from Kevin Steele as he talks about the Alabama standard. I think a lot of people want to see that defense come back. Kevin Steele saying, look, hasn't gone anywhere, and he wants to adapt to the roster that he has. Now, with that said, on the roster, he has a very versatile secondary. Here's Coach Steele talking about that secondary after 3 practices.
There's a lot of moving pieces in the secondary. Saban mentioned he wants versatility with some of the players. How do you see that group developing so far in the secondary?
Well, again, we're early in the process. In the summertime, we do get some work with them, and we had spring practice. Again, the same thing. I mean, we're at Alabama. We have talent. There are talented guys out there. We've got guys that have played a lot. We've got some guys that have not played so much yet. But it's starting to fit together in terms of who's where and what, and then what their strengths are and how to utilize those.
One of the guys that I'm curious about is Deonte Lawson, because when I watched the back end of the Kansas State game, he really impressed me. And when you look to that inside linebacker position, I think him along with Jahad Campbell, those are the guys who are certainly jumping out to me as you look at that inside linebacker position. Kevin Steele was asked about Deonte Lawson on Media Day. Here's what Steele had to say.
Some talented linebackers in the past. What do you see in Deonte Lawson and what he can be for this defense?
Well, Deonte is a guy that's very smart. He works very hard, but he also has time on task. He's been there. And so that always helps in college football. There is a difference in an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old and particularly if you've done the task over and over and over. So he has a lot of snaps under his belt. He knows the expectation. He knows the process, and he's very smart. He's relentless in his approach to working toward improving himself and the defense.
Deonte Lawson has played in 15 games. Last season, he had a total of 51 tackles. 24 of those were solos. What do you think about Deonte Lawson? Do you feel that he's going to be capable to be that inside linebacker that Alabama needs going forward, to really be the guy in the center that's a defensive leader within that linebacking unit? Of course, you have Dallas Turner and you have Chris Braswell on the outside edge, but that interior linebacker play is vital. And along with Jahad Campbell, those guys need to develop. We need to continue to see that inside linebacker group improve. People had difference of opinions about Henry Toto. He was all over the field. I'll give him credit on that. But in terms of that hard-hitting downhill linebacker, do you feel Deonte Lawson is going to be that guy? Steele was also asked about Chris Braswell. And Chris Braswell, along with Dallas Turner, I think that those two are going to be coming off the edge, crashing down, chasing down quarterbacks. Of course, there's some other guys in the mix. Here's what Kevin Steele had to say on Chris Braswell.
Very, very talented, smart football player, has a ability to rush the passer, to get on the quarterback, and he he's really, when you look at him and watch him, you may not think about it, but he has a physicality about him.
That's Kevin Steele talking about Chris Braswell. I think one of the best parts of Steele's interview from Media Day was when Steele is talking about coming back to Alabama and what it was like when Coach Saban called him up and said, hey, I want you to be the new defensive coordinator at the University of Alabama. It was a really good soundbite. Here's Steele talking about that emotion that came with the call from Coach Saban.
As you mentioned that, but to return with Coach Saban, what was that emotion like for you to get that call to come back?
Well, shocking. I did not see it coming. It was not something I expected. But obviously, when you get an opportunity to coach at the University of Alabama for the best coach that's ever done it, it's sometimes you look in the mirror and say, "Why me?" But very blessed to be here. It's you couldn't ask for anything better. If you're going to coach college football, to coach at the University of Alabama for Coach Saban, that's what you want to do.
I love that soundbite. When I think about Kevin Steele, I think about a hard-hitting defense, a simplistic approach, a no-nonsense approach. When Saban hired Steele, I remember Saban saying, Steele already knows what's expected at Alabama. And Steele's job is to coach up the defense. And as Steele said during the media opportunity, the world of college football has changed on the offensive side of the ball. It's more challenging for a defense to stop the offense. With that said, Steele also said, we have players. It's the University of Alabama. And it's his job to put those players in the right positions to make plays. It's a great interview. Loved hearing from Coach Steele. Let me know what you think about Coach Steele's interview inside the comment box. Next up, we're going to roll through Tommy Rees and take away some of his sound bites, kind of the best of, after Tommy Rees met with the media on Media Day. And one of the things that I liked is Tommy Rees comes in from Notre Dame, and a lot of people actually liked his offensive style at Notre Dame, and he was asked, is he going to be implementing that along with the Alabama offense as he gets going through the process of leading Alabama's offense? Here's what Rees had to say.
But the Notre Dame offense that you've been running over the last couple of years does look a little bit different than what Alabama has run. How much freedom do you feel to implement the wrinkles or implement the style that you want to that you've been used to running at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think, philosophically, we always start with how can we win with people? How can we win with the people that we have, and how can we put them in position to be successful? So any wrinkle is really personnel driven. Like, these guys do these things well, or we're built to do this. That's what we want to focus on, and then, we continue to bring the other parts along. So I do think, there's the freedom there to say, hey, we can do these three things well, that we can implement into the offense and enhance it. I do think, we're probably going to look different than we did when I was elsewhere, because our personnel is different. There's different strengths. There's different, areas that we can take advantage of. So, again, we don't have, a system, or I don't have a system that says, hey, you have to fit into these squares. It's more about how can I fit what you do and what you do really well into enhancing our offense. And, again, our mantra is win with people, and, we're going to find ways to allow our players to be in positions to have great success.
That's Tommy Rees talking about his offensive philosophy. Now, with that said, we've heard that Tommy Rees is working with a lot of 12 personnel. Now, when you hear 12 personnel, that is 2 tight end sets. Can you imagine if you have C.J. Dupree and Amari Niblack out on the field at the same time? Throw in Robbie Oots, right? Why not throw in 3 tight ends? Can you imagine that entire set down by the goal line? Look, you got to feed Robbie Oots somehow. When watching Tommy Rees coach at Notre Dame, he worked with the tight ends very well, utilized their abilities. Amari Niblack caught a ton of passes during the open practice period. C.J. Dupree, a lot of people really excited about him. And Robbie Oots is a monster at that H-back position. He's like 260 pounds. Here's Tommy Rees talking about the tight ends from Media Day.
What are your impressions of how the tight end room has continued to develop since spring practice, and what is the potential for that group?
Yeah, I think Coach Cox, he's done an unbelievable job of, getting that room to continually and steadily improve. I think we have more than enough talent in that room. I think we have a lot of different body types in that room, which allows us to kind of mix and match the personnel and use them in some different roles. But it's a room that's deep, it's a room that's talented, and it's a room that's steadily improving. I think, again, you bring in CJ, who's a veteran, played a lot of football. You have some guys that were on the roster a year ago that didn't play a ton, but you're, hoping that they continue to progress. And I think they've done that. I think, again, like I said, the room looks different top to bottom. Like, everybody has different strengths and things that they do really well. And so our job as a staff is to make sure that we can personnel things the right way to get the right people in the right spots.
Love that answer. And to add on to the tight ends, you got to throw in Danny Lewis, right? Danny Lewis, I've seen him a couple times in practice. Guy's an absolute beast. And Tommy's right. That tight end room has a lot of different components. They're not all the same type of tight end. They have different attributes. Amari Niblock is the guy that you can split out to the outside. CJ Dupree, I think, is a guy who go across the middle, probably a blocker as well. Robbie Oots is that H-back. You can move him out in some sort of set to where he can catch the football. You're not going to line him outside, but you see what I'm saying? Like, he can be a blocker that can also catch the football. And I think Danny Lewis is a multi-talented tight end as well, Miles Ketzelman. So that room has a lot of different components as well. Clearly, you know that Tommy Rees came from Notre Dame, and so did Tyler Buchner, the quarterback who has been added from the transfer portal. You haven't been under a rock. You know that Tyler Buchner is competing for this position to be the quarterback at Alabama. Tommy was asked about Tyler Buchner, and here's what Coach Rees had to say.
You obviously knew at Notre Dame. Just kind of what was the process of him coming here? How active were you in wanting him to come to Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, look, when he went into the portal and, we looked at an opportunity to add competition to the room. I think competition at all positions is going to bring out the best in individuals. It's going to add, an extra layer of development. It's going to allow people to rise, with the competition. And I think one thing we're trying to get the whole quarterback group to understand is when one guy has success, first of all, we need to look at it as shared success. We need to look at it as the group. Like, we want to leave practice saying the quarterback position, the quarterback group had a good day. The other thing we want to see is when one quarterback has success, it's going to challenge the rest of the group. And when we can do that, it's going to raise the level of play in the room. And so we don't want to look at it and shy away from it. We want to look at it as an opportunity to improve the entire group. To answer your question probably more directly, Ty's a guy I recruited at a young age, obviously spent 2 seasons with him. I think, he provides a little bit of a veteran presence in the room and adds some competition. And, I think he's hit the ground running with the rest of the guys on the team, especially with the rest of the quarterbacks. And it's been really a healthy transition.
That was Tommy Rees talking about new addition Tyler Buchner to that quarterback room. Hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys listening right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Next up, we're going to listen to Tyler Buchner talk about the fact that he wants to make people quit this year. That's the mantra. That was a soundbite that broke the internet, at least for the Alabama fans yesterday. A lot of people fired up to hear his mentality, his approach. And let's talk about Tyler Buchner. And a good place to start with Tyler Buchner is talking about the fact that he just wants to run the ball. And here's the main reason that he gets along so well with Seth McLaughlin, who wants to just run the damn ball.
Hey, Tyler, thank you very much for being here. Seth has a passion for running the ball. In fact, he says, run the damn ball. You share that same passion for running the football?
Of course, and that's why me and Seth get along so well. Seth kind of took me under his wing once I got here, and those are one of the things he imparted to me. He's like, look, would you rather drop back and pass it against guys who are 240 pounds, or would you rather put your weight on somebody and run the ball 30 times a game and give ourselves a real shot at really dominating the opponent? So I love Seth's mindset, and that's really the mindset of the whole room.
TJ Ferguson, a.k.a. Ferg, is repping at that left guard position, trying to work with the first team, trying to earn that spot. It could be Darian Dalcourt. It could be Ferg. Now, Tyler Buchner had some really good things to say about the second-year addition to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Here's Buchner talking about Ferg, a.k.a. TJ Ferguson.
Ferg has grown so much. You guys call him TJ Ferguson. Coach calls him TJ. We call him Ferg. That's Ferg to us. And Ferg has grown so much. He just kind of flipped the switch, and he really brought me up last year. I played a lot last year. He didn't get to play last year, but I felt like that kind of lit a fire under him, and he sees the opportunity, and he saw that if you work hard and you know what you're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis, you're going to play. You're going to get what you deserve, and his mindset has completely changed. He's just ready to play.
We move on to listen to Malachi Moore, one of the vets now in the secondary. One of the most interesting nuggets from Saturday's practice was the fact that DeVonta Smith was getting reps with the first team at the safety position. Here's Malachi Moore talking about DeVonta Smith.
Yeah, DeVonta Smith, how have you seen him grow this offseason from last year to now?
I would say Tay's biggest thing was just learning the plays, and he's done a great job of coming in and learning the adjustments and thinking forward to when the offensive motion in and just being ahead of all the tasks and ahead of all the calls and communicating with the corners, the stars, and even the linebackers. So I think, and I like the way Tay's progressing.
That's very interesting because when you look at the Alabama secondary, so far, how it's shaking out for the first team, you have your corners as Kool-Aid and Terrion Arnold. At the star position, you have Malachi Moore. The safeties, Caleb Downs, a freshman, and DeVonta Smith. I really like that secondary unit. You have some good size on the outside. I like when the corners are a little bit bigger. I like when the corners are more physical. And you have a freshman back there by the name of Caleb Downs. Everybody's raving about him. It's still really amazing that he comes in and he's likely going to start as a true freshman. Mind-blowing. And DeVonta Smith, good to see a third-year player, sticking with it, buying into the process, and now vying for a starting spot in fall camp. This past Saturday, Terrion Arnold really blew me away. I think he did a great job. There was some one-on-one situations where he really impressed. He fought with wide receivers. He knocked down balls. Malachi Moore was asked about Terrion Arnold. Here's what he had to say.
About Terrion Arnold's game, just going out there, kind of having more of that dog mentality as a corner.
Yeah, I love Terrion. The way he comes to practice every day, he brings a lot of energy. And when I'm down or I'm tired, I look at T, he pick me up, I pick him up, and it's really like a brotherhood. And I like the way he plays the position. He's a dog, like you said, out there. He's come out there with the I'm going to strap you up mentality, and it's going to be play in and play out.
Now, I have to say, Jase McClellan was a little bit nervous. His answers were short, concise. He wanted to get out of that media room as fast as he could. But we can't wait to see Jase play. The injury slowed him down a little bit, but I rewinded the game against Texas where he broke out the big run. I think he's on the Maxwell list. He's Alabama's, one of the vets on that offensive side of the ball. Very capable, a lot of game experience. Jase was asked about being the vet in that running back room. Here's what McClellan had to say.
Yeah, you sat behind Brian Robinson, obviously, your first year, and then, a little bit of Jahmyr Gibbs last year. What's it like kind of getting able to be the veteran now and the leader in that group?
It's something that that's what I worked for and prepared for. That's what I'm ready for. Being the guy that we can lean on, ready for.
See what I mean? Nice, short, concise answers. Jase was also asked about true freshman Justice Haynes. And just like Caleb Downs, it's amazing to think that Haynes comes in and he's already making waves. Here's what Jase had to say on Justice Haynes, who was absolutely getting reps with the first team on Saturday.
Yeah, coaches, really said he liked what he's seen from Justice Haynes in spring and now in fall. What have you seen from a guy that's so young like that?
A guy he's coming in and he's been ready to learn. He's been eager to play. He's taking everything. He's being coachable. He's taking everything in, and he's showing that he can be capable to play.
It's a loaded running back room, absolutely. Coach Saban said from top to bottom, that's probably their strongest group on the entire team. Jase, Roydell. By the way, did you see that photo of Roydell Williams that Alabama posted yesterday? My goodness, not an ounce of body fat on that young man. You had Justice Haynes. You have Jan Miller, and you have Richard Young. That entire running back room is completely loaded. A lot of youth, some good vets, no issues at that running back spot. I am so excited to see those guys run behind this run the damn ball offensive line. Credit to Eric Wolford as well. I think he has done a really good job adding some big bodies to that offensive line and working with these guys. I have to say, I know Alabama brought Jase to Media Day, and rightfully so. This was back in Nashville. But I really feel that Tyler Buchner is that next leader of the offensive line, maybe of the entire offense. It was really refreshing to hear how articulate he is. His mentality overall about wanting to make you quit. That is the mentality that Alabama fans want to hear. And I don't think Tyler is just talking the talk. I think he's ready to prove it on the field. Let me know what you guys think about this podcast. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you more than you know. If you have a question for me, post it inside the comment box. I'll get back to you. And a thumbs up goes a long way. You can also hit the join button at the bottom of this video to become a fan funder. There are options for all budgets listed, and we appreciate your help supporting this YouTube channel. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube.